just get in community, be
Indeed.
around other people and exchange event energy with them, and that will
Mm.
fire you up and keep you going. Because a lot of times we quit not because we don't believe in ourselves, it's because we just feel like we're such an island. And some of the great advice when I was toying between prioritizing keynote speaking and emceeing is someone said, stop trying to be a horse when you're called to be a unicorn.
I am so excited to be bringing you this next conversation, this next guest conversation with our Dream Speakers and Dream Experts series. This is with Quinn Conyers from the USA, and Quinn is an MC, and she has, in her own words, prioritized being an MC. She has MC'd some of the biggest stages in the industry, including Influence at National Speakers Association in America, and so much more. The reason why I went searching for someone like Quinn to bring to you is because one of our highest performing campaigns of all time was actually listing all the ways you can get paid to speak. So not just the keynote stage that we're all in pursuit of. Now, Quinn absolutely started as a keynote speaker, but in the last 5 years has prioritized MC. And I want you to have that perspective. I want you to understand that there's not just one track to being paid and making money in this industry. But it also has intersected with my love and passion for great MCs. I believe a great MC makes or breaks an event. I believe a great MC is something that is memorable. I believe a great MC generates future events. There's so much that I believe about an MC that most of us don't get. And when I put a shout out, Quinn was the person that I immediately wanted to connect with. Her digital footprint is vibrant. Her digital footprint shows that she does more than just stand on stage with a microphone and a run sheet. And I knew immediately that she understood what it takes to be an extraordinary MC. Here's the thing though, the way she breaks it down and the gifts that she gives us in this conversation, being an extraordinary MC is actually, as I've always believed, in the hands of every single one of us. So if you've ever thought about, I wonder if I could make a career out of being an MC, and I think MC might be more for me than keynote speaking, then I invite you to sit down and listen in. And if it's never been on your radar, simply from the perspective of how you show up and how you own your place and how you elevate conversations to get better quality work, just for that alone, this one is worth listening to. I cannot wait to hear what you think. Please, let's get started and welcome Quinn Conyers to the Speaker Driven Business Podcast. So welcome back to our next conversation on the Speaker Driven Business Podcast. This is another guest conversation, and we are actually in our series of speaking to dream speakers and dream experts. And this morning, all the way from the USA, I'm welcoming Quinn Conyers. Hello, Quinn.
Hi, how are you?
I'm really well, really excited to have this conversation. Now, I've just mentioned it's morning because I'm in Australia. Obviously, when people listen to this, it's going to be any time of the day. Where in the world are you right now?
So I'm in Maryland and it's about 4:30 in the, I guess, afternoon, evening. So different time zones, but still we're going to have a great show and a great session.
Yeah, really looking forward to this conversation. Now, for everyone listening along and used to the conversations that we do bring our guests in for, I've actually sought out Quinn specifically because today's conversation is all about being an MC and being an MC first. So, Quinn, before we came on air, we were talking about, you lead with MC. Can you actually explain for the audience what that means and how that shows up in your career?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that I am an audience activator. I am the glue that holds the event together. I am an event GPS. My job and my duty is to make sure that attendees are activated from start to finish, but more importantly, they have a conference or meeting or an event experience that make them rave, return, and refer others to attend. And I personally believe that a lot of planners spend a lot of information and time on logistics, securing spots sponsors, selecting the right speakers, but they really do forget about the attendee experience. And that's what keeps people coming back. So once I saw this, I began to kind of lean into the MC role, especially because during the pandemic, a lot of events were forced to go virtual.
Absolutely.
And people were contacting me because they wanted my energy and they wanted people to stay alive and alert for, multiple hours and multiple days on their event that is now virtual. And not only did I come alive, a lot of people affirmed and confirmed my gifting in this MC space. And although it's very similar to speaking, it is a different speaking skill set. But I just decided to lean into it.
See, I really love that already because I've been previously an MC, not as my lead, but very good as an MC. I love a great fireside chat, which is, I think, one of the skills of an MC as well to host well. What I love about that is you talked about the audience experience. And normally when we talk about audience experience, people are thinking about the merch and the breaks and the music and all of that sort of stuff. And I believe that an MC makes or breaks a great event, right? So what is it about you when you say I'm an audience activator, I make sure that the experience is great? What is it? There's your energy, but what's this attention that you bring behind the scenes? Because I know a great show takes a lot of attention to detail. So what is it that you really bring that's totally your edge?
So, when I think about audience first, and that is how I approach the MC process. Number one, I have a unique methodology and framework that I approach the MC process, and that is my voice, right?
Yeah.
And the V in that is really about being versatile and also being vibrant. So when I'm thinking about the audience as an MC, one of the first things that I know is 93% of communication is nonverbal. So when I step on stage, most speakers, when they step on stage, they're very much in black,
Mhm.
gray, navy. So
Hello, conference stages.
right. So when I come on stage, I'm wearing a lot of color. So
Yeah.
psychologically, it allows the audience's mindset to reset and everything doesn't run together. So my audience activation doesn't start when I open my mouth. It starts with my winning wardrobe, is what I like to call
Yeah.
it. So that's how I
Yeah.
start with engaging. So if you see brown, black, navy, gray, and then you see hot pink, it shocks you to pay attention. It brings you back in. And then I have what I call like content weaving. So if you were the guest speaker, after you're done, I say that you give pretty much the sermon. I come and give a little bit of the sermon. So summary, I give a couple of key points that you
Okay.
should be mindful of. So I give you the meat of the message. And then I have
Mm.
audience activation activities that I do. So if there are times where there's a little bit more time, I might do something visual that reinforces the message of the keynote speaker. I think also as an audience activator, an atmosphere shifter, is like what I like to call myself, is it's not just what I do off stage. I mean, on
Yeah.
stage, it's what I do off stage as well. So I do something called Rolling Reporter, where I'm capturing testimonials off stage for the team so they can actually use that for future marketing. I am putting people to the vendor or exhibit hall. I am doing what I call sponsor spotlights, where I'm interviewing sponsors. So again, everyone's having an experience that they are posting on social that really adds and elevates the experience. So I always let people know, if you're looking for an MC just to introduce speakers and sponsors, I'm not the right fit.
Not that person.
However, if you're looking for an event experience partner, then I am the right fit, because my job is to make sure that your attendees are activated from start to finish, whether that's one or multiple days. And I have so many tools in my toolbox that keeps audiences engaged.
I love this. So one of the things that first got my attention when I got your name and I went and I admitted out loud, I've been stalking you ever since I came across your name. One of the things that really got my attention was I obviously connected with you on LinkedIn, I think it was first, and you do those testimonials and you do walk the rooms and you do walk the hallways. Where did that come from? Like, that feels like a stroke of genius. It also feels like it's very natural for you. But where did that come from? Where did you understand that that was important?
I saw the gaps.
Yeah.
So I have a bachelor's degree, I have a master's degree, but I just believe that as an entrepreneur who loves professional development, that didn't stop my learning process. It just
Mm.
begun. And I'm an avid conference goer, and we've all been to conferences where you're sitting there like, why is the CEO the MC? Or why is the boring board member the MC? Like, this is horrible. But then I would also be
Mhm.
at events. I'm like, man, if that was me, people are excited. I would be grabbing testimonials right now. So it was like I would be at it from an attendee standpoint and I would see
Mhm.
all these gaps and holes that I would fill or I would do differently. And then once I stepped in the MC role, I would explain to my clients, like, yes, I'm going to rock the stage for you, being on the main stage, but here's what I can do in breakout sessions. Here's what I can do in the hallways. Here's what I can do on breaks. This is what we can keep them energized so they return to session after session because there's nothing worse than spending all this money on a multi-day, 3-day meeting, event, or show. And then there's 1,000 people who show up on day one, but there's only 200 at day three.
Absolutely.
And I began to see how I could keep that attendance and that engagement high. So with the right clients, they will allow me to be their partner, not just their MC. But it's what I see, Jacqueline. I just saw, oh my God, I was like, I can make this 10 times better by just doing
Yeah.
these 5 things.
Yeah.
And then when people will let me do these 5 things, their retention would be high. People would return. Their post-event evaluations would increase. They would say, I love Quinn's energy. One of my favorite things was, Quinn is better than 2 cups of coffee. I love that comment.
That's the best comment
So I'm like, yes,
ever.
this is work. So when I get the right clients who believe in the power of an MC, I really do elevate their event. And I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's one of the things that really shone through. When did you first start leaning into this?
I've always offered emceeing, to be honest with you. My problem was I didn't know how to verbalize the value of it. So when someone would say, "Oh, we can get our CEO to do it," I didn't know how to combat that.
Mhm.
But what happened, which was so beautiful about the pandemic, even though the world was shut down, most events that were happening in person were forced to go virtual.
Absolutely.
And I started to get more contacts because people just wanted my energy. But like, I don't even know if you MC, but I just feel like you have the right energy to be able to carry this event online. Would you be interested? And I did. And I would say within a couple of months, I'm in a revenue room right now. That's what I call my home office, my revenue room. I put about $3,500 of lights, cameras, and just turned up my virtual. I called Verizon, asked for the highest internet package possible so I could be able to do my event.
So there was no downtime. Yeah.
Yeah, I just jumped right in, and when other people started to, like, really struggle, I flourished. But
Mm.
that's during the pandemic is when I made the shift to prioritize emceeing as my top speaking service, and then I still do, of course, keynote speaking,
Yeah.
training of entrepreneurs and business owners and things like that, but the pandemic was really a pivotal time for me that boosted my MC business.
So you said prior to that, you didn't really know how to have that value conversation. Like, oh, we'll just get the MC in, we'll get the main sponsor in, the chair of the board. And obviously, during the pandemic, you really got to understand your value. How did your value proposition shift? What was it that you were able to articulate that brought the closers in the door?
So I love that question. So first and foremost, when I am doing keynote speaking or talking to entrepreneurs, I explain how I was using what I call discount dialect, meaning I was using words and language that didn't quite summarize or articulate the value of an MC. But then once I begin to use what I call luxury language, which is what I call wealthier words to describe what I do, and I had the experience to back it up, that was the shift.
Yeah.
So I would come in and I would begin to number one, I don't like selling twice, meaning I don't want to sell you on why your CEO is not the right MC. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, and then I don't want to sell you on why you need to choose me. I rather talk to event and meeting planners who already believe in the power of an MC.
Absolutely.
So that's also what shifted for me. There's some people who just believe in the power of it. We're having a conference, we're having a show, we're having an event. We need 3 keynote speakers and we need 1 MC. Like it's just a part of their makeup.
Yeah.
So that's when I started to go after the planners who already believed in emceeing. And when I stopped trying to convince somebody that their CEO wasn't the right person, because they've already knew that, but they just didn't
Yeah.
know that a Quinn existed. So they were settling for a person that wasn't their strong suit or an internal staff person when they didn't know that this other option was available. So it was just a shift in the psychographics of the client that I wanted to serve. And I began to call out their pain points in my LinkedIn and my social media marketing, but also too, organizations like the National Speakers Association and me emceeing got me a lot of referrals as well. So when people would see me in action, like, listen, I've seen people MC and host. What you did was completely different.
Beautiful.
So it was a combination combination of shifting my approach and how I talked about the MC role, but it was also people experiencing me and seeing me in action that became my advocates and said, "Hey, you're having an event, you got to have Quinn MC." And that happened a lot and it really worked in my favor.
Amazing. There's a couple of things I really want the audience to take away with that. Number one was don't sell twice. I love that.
Yes.
Like, don't try and convince them before you even get over the fence. And that was one of the biggest things that we had when we first started this business. We realized we had to stop convincing people that they could be confident enough to be on stage. The second thing I love, and I saw this when I first started stalking you, and I want to go a little bit further with this because language is my thing. I love it. Linguistics, the way that energy intersects, and and understanding the psychographic response. You're the only other person on the planet that I've heard in the last 10 years use that language. Tell me more about luxury language because I think there's a key in that as well.
Luxury language, and I tried to get it trademarked, Jacqueline. They wouldn't let me do it, so I had to get another angle. But luxury language, in my opinion, is intentional and deliberate language that elevates, amplifies who you are and what it is that you do. And I believe a lot of women entrepreneurs, especially, we tend to unconsciously use what I call discount dialect, words and phrases that really downplay or shortchange our experience and our
Mm,
expertise. So instead of saying, you know what, oh, you're having an event, I can help you host that, right? I would shift my language to be more luxurious or more intentional to say, listen, if you're having an event and you want your attendees to rave and to return and build relevant relationships, I am your go-to pro MC.
that is such a difference.
Yes, it's a little bit of language, but it's a lot of confidence and audacity, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because most people don't speak so confident, but I also know what I have done on stages. So I'm very intentional about, what I call verbalizing my value, but I'm also even more intentional about the word choices that I use to describe my MC services. So I began to describe it in a more premium. It is not a nice to have.
Yeah,
It is a necessity.
yeah,
So if you want your event to be average or amazing, right? Do you want your event to be mediocre or mind blowing, right? So psychologically, who doesn't want a mind blowing event? Nobody raises their hand and says, I want a mediocre event. So when I begin to use more psychologically rich language, what I call luxury language, I begin to see the wheels in the event planner's head turns and I would get more bookings. And that's what I was missing. It was just like, oh, I'll host. And I'm like, you do so much more than just hosting an event. You activate events, you bring events to life. You keep attendees saying, I'm coming back every year. And sometimes they don't know why. And then sometimes they say, because of Quinn.
yeah.
But either way, that's part of my goal.
They're coming back. Yeah,
Yes.
they're coming back, and that's the goal. So I really love this. Can I ask you a question? Did you lead with the conviction first and find the language, or did the language kind of lead you to this level of conviction that you're showing us?
No, I started with the language. It was other people like you and people in the audience who confirmed and affirmed me.
Yeah,
So I thought what I was doing was very normal, very like, oh yeah, I'm going to do some audience activation activities. Yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then when I would do it, people would pull me to the side and was like, that was amazing. You're in your gifting, you're in your calling, you're an amazing MC. So the conviction came from others in the audience and planners confirming my gift because in the beginning, I didn't know it was that great. I just did what psychologically made sense to me. Like I know I don't like boring events,
no,
right?
I know, no one does.
I don't like to sit at a conference, you know what I mean, and hear a great 45, 60-minute keynote and then it crashes after that because your next speaker and most speakers are introverts, you know?
Yes,
So they're channeling their inner, extrovert on stage or worse. We've all been to conferences where the speaker is what I call education rich, but their delivery
yeah,
poor.
absolutely.
So they know their stuff, but they might not be the best at delivering.
Which is about 70% of the speakers. Yeah,
Yes.
70% of speakers are probably sitting in that zone.
Yes, so they don't even realize that this can have a little bit more interaction and engagement. So, no, the conviction came later when other people just complimented me, and then I have the rule of 3. If I hear the same thing 3 times, I'm gonna believe it. So if somebody says, "Oh my gosh, Jacqueline, I love that jacket. It's amazing." But if the second person, "Jacqueline, that jacket is amazing. Where'd you get it?" And then the third person says, "Oh my gosh, I will give you $100 for that jacket." You're gonna start, well, this jacket is pretty nice now, isn't it? Right? Like it's like you start to believe.
Yeah, this is part of my winning wardrobe.
Yes, you got your winning wardrobe. So to answer your question, yeah, it was really me using the luxury intentional language, but then it was other people saying, "No, you're really good at this." And I've been to a lot of conferences and you kept my attention from start to finish.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that actually you led with just doing what felt right and the conviction then came through. And also love the way that you said about the three things. If someone says it once, twice, three times, because I also working with emerging speakers, there's a lot of opinion from audiences about what you should and shouldn't do, right? Unsolicited feedback. And so I say to people, you hear it once, just notice it. If you hear it twice, note it. If you hear it three times, bring it back to me.
Yes.
So very similar thing, but with the flip of what we hear and what we believe. Quinn, you've got this incredible energy. You obviously love what you do with events. Where does that come from? Who was young Quinn? Who was little Quinn? What's this journey? You mentioned university. Where does this vibrancy come from?
Ooh, such good questions. I can talk to you forever. Um, my mother told me that when I was 2, I could form complete sentences. And
Oh,
I was always talking, and I majored in communication, and I majored, both of my degrees are in the communication field. And I also think it comes from a gender and a cultural standpoint. I remember just growing up and feeling like a lot of women in my family did not have voices,
yeah.
that they were kinda settled for the status quo, and I talked to a lot of other women, and it was the same thing, no matter what race, no matter what color, it was just like, my mom pretty much, like, didn't really have a voice too much, or, we came from a household where women were supposed to be seen but not heard, and don't speak unless spoken to, and I just remember, like, I have something to say, and I can't say it because I'm a woman, I can't say it because I'm African American, that doesn't make any sense to me, so I was like, "I have this instrument called my voice,
Mm.
and I have something to say, and I'm gonna start saying it." So that was probably like the beginning of I just noticed a lot of voices were not lost. I don't believe in people assisting people with finding their voice. I believe that our voices have been muted and muzzled, and the volume needs to be turned up. So I don't believe that we find
Ah.
our voices. So that was part of it for me. And then I think college was really the turning point when I realized that I really did have something to say and I could command a crowd. We got our syllabus, and when I was at Westchester University, and intro to public speaking was on that list, and everybody started freaking out. Intro to public speaking, intro to public speaking, what's going on, stuttering all over themselves. I'm like, what's the problem, give me the microphone. So, and not only did I speak in those classes, when I talked, people listened.
Mm.
And I realized that I had something special. So I took intro to public speaking, advanced public speaking, argument and debate, every speech communication, communicating on television and radio. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I didn't know at the time that speaking could be a career, but that's little Quinn evolving into collegiate Quinn.
Yeah, amazing. So when you left university and you had this this obvious love of communication, your studies, both undergrad and postgrad, were in communication. Where did you go next?
It's funny because when I was at undergrad, I just was like, I like this speaking thing. So I'm getting my master's in mass
Mm.
communication media studies. And then I was like, oh, I want to speak when I grow up. Like, I want to be a speaker. Right. And then somebody said, well, how much do you charge? What? This is a job? This is a profession? I was just like, "Sign me up." So I think when I realized I can do this in real life, like, I can get paid to do this, my quest to become a professional speaker started.
Yeah,
Like, "How do I do this?" Right? I didn't
yeah,
understand, like, a one sheet, I didn't understand a speaker's reel, I didn't know any of that. I just knew that I need to monetize this. So,
yeah.
I think after that, to answer your question, I went on this quest to figure out, how can I be a speaker when I grow up? That's what happened after that.
I love this. I don't think I've grown up yet.
Me
Just a
neither.
side note. So I'm fascinated by that because my story is I actually spoke as a subject matter expert for about 10 years, was an opening keynote, didn't know that was a thing and wasn't paid. And when I asked the question, am I the opening keynote of the organizers? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, apparently that gets paid because I'd just been asked in the green room how much I was getting paid. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm not getting paid. And they're like, oh, that was an over, I almost swore, that was an oversight. Shoot us an invoice for 10K and we'll get you paid. And it was like, same reaction was like, I beg your pardon? And I wasn't phased. I wasn't phased because I could, generate 6 and $7 million for our business 6 and 7 figures for our business every time I spoke. So it was like, "Oh, wow, there's another revenue stream." And it was the same thing. It was mind-blowing that people got paid for this thing, right? And
Yeah.
I hadn't had much exposure to conferences. I was in small town Australia, so it wasn't like there was that general exposure. So you realized this was a thing, blew your mind. It's a profession. I can get paid for it. What was your first half decent paid job?
I was in college and I got paid $750.
I love it.
I thought I was rich.
I love it.
I'm like, "I'm dropping out. I don't need to be in college. If I can get someone to pay me 750." And it was a big deal because work study at the time was like $7.50, $6.25. So,
Oh my goodness. So it's like 3 hours work.
yeah, so it was almost like
3 weeks work, yeah.
it was just like, "I'm getting $750 for 1 hour. This is better than drug money. Do people who sell drugs?" I'm
Sometimes I
like,
think people are on drugs in this industry. That was a whole
"Yeah,"
different
and I'm
conversation.
like, this is amazing, but that was, like, my first taste, and I was like, "I want more of it," but I'm not gonna lie, I struggled, like, it was like
Yeah.
a fluke. I wasn't consistent with it, I was still in college, so it took me a while to learn the business, and
Yeah.
my issue and my challenge wasn't talent. I had the talent, I could rock a stage. Mine's was the business side of speaking, the business side of emceeing
Yeah.
and hosting. That's what I had to learn, who has the budgets, because a lot of times, "Oh, yeah, Quinn, you wanna come speak? Come on, here is dinner. That is your payment," right? And I was accepting dinner.
Yeah, and sometimes, could you please still pay for your ticket, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you
So
can't
it's
afford a
just
free
like,
ticket. Yeah.
yep, that's what I had to learn. So it took me some years to understand and really learn the business side of this. And to be honest with you, community was everything, and just learning, because I've given up on this. I've quit. I've came back, all the things that you do as an MC, as a speaker, you're an entrepreneur at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And there's this emotional roller coaster that really does happen.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we're really big about, we're actually doing a conference here in Australia, is I can teach you the craft, but please let me teach you the speaking, business side of speaking, because I'm a CEO by background,
Mm,
right? So it's like, and a genuine CEO of really complex organizations. And so my whole thing is, yeah, you can go and rock the stage, but if you don't understand the business, you're going to burn out. You're going to fall off the edge. So thinking about one of those times that you just said, like, I got out like everyone does. I left, came back, left, came back. Think about one of those times that you left and came back. What was it that pulled you back in? Like, what kept giving you hope?
well, I had quit speaking several times. And I was frustrated because I couldn't figure out the business, and I didn't know where to go, and I didn't know other people who wanted to be professional speakers when they grew up. So I didn't have any role models. I didn't know where to go and find these people. And at the time, the National Speakers Association, I couldn't afford it. I couldn't even get in. I didn't
Yeah.
qualify. I'm a college student,
Mhm.
so I just couldn't do it. And I remember trying speaking several different ways. I remember trying to get people to pay me up front, my fee, my honorarium. I even tried selling from the stage, because it was like, "Oh, if you can't get people to pay you, if you have a coaching program, or if you have X, Y, and Z, you could speak for free and then enroll people to work with you." I tried that as well. And the last time I did it, it just flopped. And I'm like, I'm tired. It's 7 years of this inconsistent. Maybe God made a mistake. Maybe I'm not supposed to be a speaker or an MC. So I'm just going to do something different. But I always was an entrepreneur. So I had a friend of mine, her name is Tiffany Bethia, and we're still really, really good friends to this day. And she said to me that I had pushed my energy to a purse business. I've always been an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I put all my effort and energy into selling purses. And she came up to me because she knew my speaking background. She says, "I love what you're doing with the purses. It's a great business model." It's like, "But when's the next time you're speaking? When's the next time you're doing a
Mm.
workshop or you're hosting something?" And I was like, "Girl, I quit. I am not speaking anymore. I'm just focusing on these bags." And she says to me, "Quinn, you're not good at speaking. You're anointed to speak."
Oh, I felt that.
And it like unlocked something inside of me because I was frustrated that I couldn't figure it out. So I put the gift on hold. I stopped it because
Mm.
I couldn't monetize it and it was frustrating me. And when
Mm.
she said that, it almost like unlocked something in me that made me pick up the mic again.
Amazing. So when you did pick up that mic again, I'm assuming it was a little bit rough, or did you actually discover communities and mentors and discover a whole network? Like, what happened from that point that then kept you on this pathway that's landed you where you are now?
Well, when I picked up the mic again, I didn't go straight into who can hire me. I just started hosting my own little workshops and seminars and doing master classes just to kind of get my feet wet again. And I realized how much I did enjoy speaking life into people and hosting
Mm.
things. And then the more I started to do that, other people who were speakers started to pop up and I would get, feedback and insight. And then I started finding out about organizations like the National Speakers Association
Yeah.
and finding other people who they also wanted to be a speaker when they grew up. So I think that when I pick up the mic again, I was now older, had more wisdom,
Yeah.
had more life experience. I now begin to, thanks to social media, find other groups that
Mm.
had similar interests, and that is what grounded me the second time around,
Love that.
or fourth or fifth, because I've quit and
Yeah.
start so many times.
We've lost count. We've all lost count.
Yeah.
I remember actually delivering my most daunting speech ever, and I got rave reviews, and then I walked away from the topic because I was like, so it's just really bizarre how this whole journey unfolds. Coming back to the MC work and the fact that it's now, so when you say it's the lead, and I know that when I put the call out for MCs, I wanted someone who had 70 to 80% of their business directly through MC work. And that's what your business model is now, isn't it?
It is.
It is predominantly MC work.
Yes.
Okay. So how does that make your model different to most things that we see in the speaking industry?
Well, most people, keynote speaking is their lead speaking service, and they might do some coaching, some training, other things. Whereas I lead with emceeing. So if you go to my website, look at any of my marketing materials, I start there. Furthermore, I've taken the MC role and I've also expanded that. So in addition to being an MC, I have a service called MC in Residence. So these are organizations that they have anywhere from 4 to 8 events an entire year. So they bring me back as a consistent voice.
Oh,
So I might host multiple
that's
events.
genius.
Yeah, so
Sorry,
I
the strategist in me is like, that's freaking genius, Quinn.
Yeah, so I do that. So I have a few MC in residence clients. Sometimes I'll do multiple events for them in a year, or I'm their host every
Mhm.
single year. So the reason why
Yeah.
I love the model, which is very different from keynote speaking, which a lot of my colleagues and counterparts are doing, is you have to hunt every single time. Even if you
Yeah.
were a great keynote speaker in 2024, they're going to try somebody else in 2025. The difference with me is I can be a great MC in 2024 and you'll invite me back again for 2025 with a new slate of keynote speakers. So for me, the longevity works for me in that way. And also from that business model is the emceeing. It is the MC in residence, but also I have an Epic MC Academy because so many people are reaching out to me because I am the person they were looking for. Oh my gosh, I don't know anybody else who's emceeing and prioritizing that's 90% of the business. Or I search MC, or someone says, "Oh my gosh, I know my friend was an MC. I saw you and I told them to connect with you because you're doing what they want to
Mm.
do." So, yeah, that's kind of how I do it. I have my MC services, MC in residence, I have my academy, but truly I want to be and build what I call an epic MC empire. I love this, but I also need a retirement plan. So my job
Yeah.
is to build up the next generation of MCs. So when I want to put the mic down or do a little differently, there's other MCs. I also want to have an agency one day where Fortune 500 companies or Fortune 100 companies, they come to me and they know they're going to get a quality MC because they were trained under my framework. So I
Mm.
want to disrupt traditional conference culture and provide MCs that really can carry and captivate a crowd.
I
So
love this so much because you've got this whole business thing happening, this incredible vision to disrupt something, which it needs. There's a lot of things about our industry that need a shake up and need people to actually think a little bit differently. But also, too, I love that you're teaching the next generation of MCs because I have people come to me all the time, and I'm a good MC, but I'm not a great MC. I'm better than average, but I'm not as good as you, right? But I don't know where to send people to learn it, right?
mhm.
When it comes to, like, we can all sit there and say, so and so's a great MC. They're not. The majority are not cutting it. But when it actually comes to other than somebody individually coaching, it's like, where do you send them to become a great MC? Because for me, the MC makes or breaks the event, which is obviously what you've discovered.
Yeah.
And yet we have speaking academies and we have trainer academies and we have all of these sorts of things. So I love that you've set this up. Gonna ask a quick question. Is it online or do you do it in person?
So it is a hybrid. So we get together for sessions twice a month, and then we have a in-person event part called Command the Crowd, where we do hands-on training. So the virtual part is the business side of emceeing,
Yeah,
and then the in-person, which is a 2-day kind of training, is when we all come together, and that's public speaking, stage performance of the MC craft. So
I love
it's a
this.
combination. Yeah, it's
I love
really,
this.
I mean, I just had my first cohort last year because so many people were coming to me like, I'm having the same conversation every week with 4 or 5 people. Let me go ahead and put together a cohort. And I did. And they were like, this was the best MC training. I even had someone come over from Korea. She found me online. So I
Yeah.
believe it's going to be an international MC facilitator, moderating, coaching, and teaching. And it's not going to be just me. I can't wait to have other MC instructors.
Yeah, amazing. So we're going to put that in the show notes for people because I think it's really important. And I know, we're in Australia, you're in the US, but I know I used to fly to the US for masterminds, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so we're going to put that in the show notes. So if we can make sure we get that link from you of anything that you've got for that, because, and here's the thing is I guess the message that I really want to bring home to people is that MC is a skill, right? It's not just a keynote speaker picking up a mic to host the event. It's not just somebody who is, as you said, the CEO. MCing is a real skill. What do you think the real skill is in MCing? I believe that to be true, but I love in your words, what is the real skill base that we need to nurture and generate here?
Emotional intelligence.
Hua. Yeah,
Because when you're in a room with attendees, you have to pick up on things that might not be so obvious. So, for
yeah,
example, you asked me earlier about how do I activate audiences? Well, part of that is through, of course, a winning wardrobe, but it's also I have certain walk on music that I use,
mm,
right? So, there's this walk on music. It's very upbeat, it brings the energy back up. But if you were let's say, a guest speaker, as I do all different types of events, and you just talked about something that was very heavy, it's very
yeah,
inappropriate for me to come in with this song. It's not going to
yeah,
match the vibe and the vision and the energy of the event. So I have to be emotionally intelligent to say, do not play that song. I'm very high energy.
yeah,
And I will come in and I will bring my energy down an octave to meet them where they are. So I think that emotional intelligence, psychological safety is
yeah,
very big when it comes to emceeing. And if you don't have those social cues, you can't read the room, you can't realize and see, okay, my host, whoever's doing this, is very overwhelmed. I need to pivot, or that session was a bit heavy. I know there's not a break, but we schedule a quick break for 10 minutes
yeah.
and just make lunch an hour instead of 75 minutes. Trust me, we need a break right now.
Yeah, I love this. It's to me the MC is the conductor, right? If we're thinking about
Yes.
the orchestra as the conductor and you need to be able to move things around. You mentioned before you started talking about your I guess your resource kit, which is voice, and you said the first part was vibrant. Can you run us through what that is? Is that okay? Can we, because
Yeah,
I'd love
of
to unpack
course.
that a little bit.
So I have a
Yeah.
framework that I use to uniquely approach the MC process. It's like how keynote speakers have a framework or a methodology on when they are delivering keynote speeches. I have the same thing for MCing. So it is my voice, and it's not just the words that come out of my mouth. It is how I uniquely approach the MC process. So the V stands for me being vibrant and versatile. So number one,
Yeah.
you are going to get 2 cups of coffee in the form of Quinn Conyers. That is going to happen. If you want someone who is monotone, then I'm not the one, right? So
Yeah.
vibrant and versatile. Let's say, for example, Jacqueline was supposed to be our keynote speaker, and for whatever reason, you're not feeling it. I've had to actually switch from a keynote to an impromptu fireside chat. Versatile,
Yeah.
or the speaker went to the wrong airport. I had to fill in time. You have to be, I mean, you got 12th, 11th, 14th hour changes. Everything does not go according to plan. So you have to be versatile. If you're someone who was very by the book, that could stress you out as an MC because it does
Absolutely.
never, the more chaotic is, the more fun I have.
And
Like
there is
I'm
that
okay with it.
and there's a total insight into the psychographic of Quinn.
Yes, I'm like, "Ooh, oh my gosh, our speaker's running late. Yes, I can do an audience activation." It's just my brain.
Yeah.
The O is all about being your obstacle overcomer, right? So if
Oh,
things happen, go left, go right, the sound goes down for whatever reason. We had someone who was in ballroom B. We had to shift them to ballroom D. We need to get 100 people who was on their way to ballroom D to now go to ballroom B, right? I can make that shift, right?
yeah.
So I'm your obstacle overcomer. The I is really about involving and doing intriguing introductions and interactions with the audience, right?
Yes.
So I'm not going to read your bio. I'm going to spice it up. I'm going to add all kinds of things, get excited. I'm also going to make sure that I'm saying your name correctly. I'm going over pronunciation. I'm interacting with you in between is the C for it. So what did I do? VOI. I'm sorry. So that's the I, interaction. The C is all about being your content weaver. So I'm really excited about being a content weaver because my job is to be the thread that holds your event together. So if you're the opening keynote speaker and you say something very powerful, and now we're on day 3, I might actually link a message from Jacqueline to keynote speaker number 3. So it all comes together. So the vision and the theme of the event is still very much aware for the attendees. My C always stands for also too, I'm your contingency plan,
Yeah.
meaning anything can happen, right? Especially when it comes to communication. So what happens if Jacqueline did a great job as a speaker and then the person afterwards, speaks, but they say something that's not in alignment
Mhm.
with the vision of the conference? Do you pull the mic? What is the communication contingency plan? So my job is to get up there and make sure that we go back and, make sure everything stays on time and upbeat. And then the E in my model is all about event elevation. And this is exactly what it looks like. Sometimes I'm hosting your conference, and then at the end, I'll do your award celebration or your gala in the evening. That is me being your event reporter, capturing testimonials. I'm also an inclusive advocate. So I'm looking at your stage. I'm like, are all of your speakers able bodied? They're like, what? I'm like, there's no ramp. What if somebody's in a wheelchair? What if somebody has a boot? Right. So I'm like looking at your event from an elevation standpoint. And it's like, let me be your event enhancer, your event elevator. So that's the E in the model. So the V, the O, the I, the C, and the E, that's how I uniquely approach the MC process.
I really love that. What I love about that, Quinn, is even though it's about how you approach it, it's 100% about what the event planner needs.
Yes. Yeah.
100% about what the event planner needs. What's the best stage that you've emceed from?
Ooh. Women Consulting Corporate Live.
Ooh.
So I have found that I love events where women leaders and entrepreneurs are elevated. And I also love events where entrepreneurship, business, startups. I love hosting those types of events. And it just was everything that I needed to be. It was fun. The audience was engaged. It was just amazing. It was in Atlanta, and that was probably one of my favorite events that I did. I really enjoyed it.
Wow. No, no, it's, keep going because I'm just stuck on, like, there's a conference for that in the US, like, I would love that sort of environment.
Yeah, it was for women who wanted to package and position their experience to corporations and sell their consulting services.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
was all about women wanting to consult with corporations to sell their expertise.
Love it.
And I think I loved it because I'm such a learner, and I think that so many women didn't realize that their genius could be packaged and sold as consulting opportunities. So I loved it.
Yeah, and I think that's what got my attention.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Just in the title. It's so many people, like, women and men full stop, don't understand how to package experience and sell back into corporate, and for an environment where women can flourish in that, no wonder why it's one of your favorites.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. What about the biggest, I guess, blooper reel? Where's the blooper reel sit for Quinn Conyers?
I don't think it was a blooper. I think it was more or less as an MC. When you work a 9 to 5, you pretty much know your coworkers and your colleagues every single time you come in. You know if Sally is grumpy before she has a morning cup of coffee. You know if your boss is really high strung right before evaluations. As an MC, my crew, my colleagues change every event.
Yeah.
It's a different event planner. It's a different AV team. It's a different DJ. So I think that sometimes that can throw me off because I have to manage different personalities and still do my job. But that it wouldn't be like that would probably be the most kind of like challenging part is you're working with different personalities all the time.
Every single time.
Every single time, and you got some people are very much by the minute, which I
Yeah.
always say, I do not like minute by minute run of shows. Like, if we're supposed to start at 9 o'clock and you want me to end at 9:03, I don't like that. I need at least we ending on a 5 or a 0 because it's crazy to believe. We're not gonna it's not normal. Give me at least a 5 or 10 minute transition, but I don't like things that start, at 9:03 and then you want me to be done by 9:07. Like the
Yeah.
expectation is not realistic. So that's like the only thing that I'm like, but for the most part, when people work with me, they trust me quickly that I know what I'm doing and my
Yeah.
best interest is to make sure that the event is a true success from every angle.
So, Quinn, we talked earlier about you finally found this network of people and other people want to be speakers when they grow up. Joined NSA. I'm now surprised I haven't met you at an influence, but joined NSA and things like that. So, who in speaking, MC, speaking driven business, if you like, who do you really admire and respect? Who's kind of like
So
got your attention? Who do you want to be when you grow up?
I don't know if it's who I wanna be, but I think that I love here's this guy, his name is Dan Ram. He's an MC. I wanna say he's Indian, and he's based out of Dubai,
Yeah.
and the way he shows up is just like, "Take me now," right? I just love everything about his style. I like how he uniquely shows up. I love how he embraces his culture every time he hits the stage, but his name is Dan Ram. Shout out to Dan Ram. I think he's super amazing, and I see him prioritizing emceeing as well, and he's doing
Yeah.
it in his own way. And then there's like so many different people, like, who I'm in community now. Like I'm a part of the National Speakers Association. I'm a part of Black Speakers Network. I'm a part of an organization called Impact 11. So I'm a part of several speaking organizations that keep me sharp. But I love Dan's brand and how he
Yeah.
shows up. So big, so bold in the MC space. It makes my heart smile.
I love that. I love that so much. So we spoke a moment ago about your vision, like, disrupting the whole industry from an MC perspective, raising the next generation of MCs. What is it that's got you excited about this next season for Quinn?
I think that what has me excited about this next season is that I have a vision and I can see this bigger than me being on stage. This is
Mm.
not just about me. If I can cultivate, highlight, amplify, and illuminate other people who were like me, who didn't even believe or think that emceeing as a career was possible, is what lights me up. So when I'm coaching or they're at the academy, we're going through things and I'm showing how to do scripting and I'm showing that you don't have to get pennies to MC, you can charge premium. It really does light me up because I was that person who had a talent, but I didn't have the business technique.
Yeah.
And, I also see a retirement plan for myself when many speakers are just like, I guess I'm just going to talk until I can't talk anymore. Whereas I would love to be doing this, but I think, and I wrote a post about this on LinkedIn, I know that I have reached a level of success when I'm sitting down.
Oh,
And when I say sitting down, is I want to be interviewed on shows and podcasts about how I built this epic MC empire. Because right now, the majority of the speak I'm doing, I'm standing up.
yeah.
But when I'm sitting down, in my opinion, that's another layer of success.
That is the most beautiful, visceral epitome of success I've ever heard, right?
Mm.
I want to be sitting down, especially as a speaker, and actually having that ability to create something beyond yourself. I just love the way that you actually articulated that. For those that actually are thinking about becoming an MC and are listening to this and getting inspired that maybe this could be something that they do, what's your key piece of advice to them?
Get in community quick, fast, and in a
Yeah.
hurry. Because if you get in your own head and you commit to being like, oh, I'm thinking about it, you're going to talk yourself out of it every time. You need to be around like minded individuals who also are passionate about hosting and emceeing events. That's why there's organizations of speakers, there's organization of people who love plants, there's organizations of people who love robots, there's organizations of people who love books, because people want to be in community and association with other people who share similar interests. So I would say, don't don't necessarily go out and buy a course or a coaching program. You could, I would say, just get in community, be
Nitty.
around other people and exchange event energy with them, and that will
Mm.
fire you up and keep you going. Because a lot of times we quit not because we don't believe in ourselves, it's because we don't feel like we just feel like we're such an island. And some of the great advice when I was toying between prioritizing keynote speaking and emceeing, and someone said, her name is Wendy, love Wendy. She said to me, "Stop trying to be a horse when you're called to be a unicorn."
Oh, beautiful advice.
Punch in the gut. I was
Yeah.
just like, she's like, "Yeah, keynote speaking is great, but we all know a million keynote speakers, but how many really good MCs do we know?" And I'm like, "You're right." She's like,
Mm.
"Quinn, you are a fabulous MC. Own that.
Yeah.
Become a unicorn in that space." And I was just like, "Okay," with a
Yeah.
tear rolling down my cheek.
That was a gut punch though, like, let's be honest, that was a total gut punch. So what are your if someone's at the start of their MC career and they're working out how to get better and better at it, what's your 3 top things that they should do? There's get in community. What from a skills perspective to be really amazing on those stages, what's the 3 top things they should do?
I would say yes. So get in community. Number two, visibility, visibility, visibility. Most MCs are like the best kept secret. So I would tell them to start leveraging LinkedIn.
Mhm.
Post clips of you MCing. Let people know when's your next MC engagement. If you went to an event and event planner loved you, post their testimonial on LinkedIn, right? So become visible all in your bio and your header and your about us section should say MC. I make so many MCs and I go to their page, I'm like, I can't tell you're an MC, right?
Well, that's exactly what happened when I was looking for when I was introduced to you. Like, people say, "Oh, this person's an MC," and I go to their digital footprint, and I'm like, "Really?"
I can't tell, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So your like you said, your digital background should check out, right?
Yeah.
So again, we were talking about, community, we're talking about visibility. And then I think the last thing I would say is really begin to think of it as a business.
Mm.
I think that we treat it as a hobby. So if you're serious
Mm.
about this, start treating it like a business. So if somebody says to me, "Quinn, we're interested in having you host our event," the first thing I'm going to say is, "Okay, great. Thank you so much. Can you fill out this pre-event questionnaire so I can learn all the details of your event?" I'm not hopping on a call with you right away. Like, I treat it like a business. There is a booking process in place to render and inquire about my MC services. So that's just like treating it like a business and stop treating it like a hobby.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's what we see so often. We've got and I'm not sure if you're aware of him over in the US, we've got David Avrin coming out to actually open up the curtains behind his business and how he's built it, right? And
Mm,
it's the same thing. He has this line that I love, and it's like, "Everyone thinks we're in the business of speaking, but we're not. We're in the business of getting the gig."
yes.
And I think that's advice, and you've just sort of exemplified it. What I love is every time I've asked you what should we do, it's involved community, it's involved visibility, and it's involved business. In actual point of fact, your craft can speak for itself, is what I'm hearing from you. Like, double down and get
Mhm.
good at it, but it can speak for itself. It's going to die though if you don't have the other things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, Quinn, if you weren't an MC or a speaker, what do you think you'd be?
A marketer.
Which is exactly what you're
I
doing
think
every
in
time.
another life, I would be a marketer because I love positioning and packaging things and presenting it to the world, right?
Yeah,
Whether
yeah.
as like a speech or a like, I just love that. Even when it comes down to like style, I just believe that the way something is packaged, positioned, and pitched and then presented to the world makes all the difference. So in another life, I would be probably like a marketer or working on somebody's campaign, or how can we package this up and pitch it and make it a lot of money?
Yeah.
Like, that's kinda like what I would be in the marketing, or I don't know, advertising industry is probably where I would be.
Yeah, and I love that because it aligns to what you've done with your MC work.
Yes.
You packaged it
Yes.
up, made a premium, and got a good price for it, right?
Exactly. So and my friend
Um,
would say, "Stop saying you would be a marketer. You are a marketer. You market yourself all the time." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I guess you're right." But I'm like, "Well, I would market other people." Like, that would be like
yeah,
I would work on campaigns and things like that. But, yeah, I
love
like
that.
marketing because you can be so creative.
Yeah, absolutely, which is exactly what we do every day. I remember my first iteration of my career was actually as a recruiter. And I came out with all of these incredible marketing and communication skills. And people are like, "But you were a recruiter." And I'm like, "Yeah, but a good recruiter is marketing people, communicating. Like,
Yeah.
it's actually, it's 100% marketing. All
Yeah.
right. And getting product fit.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, people to people. Quinn, I have loved this conversation. I'm so grateful for your time. As we close out, when you think about so most of our audience is emerging and aspiring speakers, which I think is about 60% of the industry.
Mhm.
And what would be your final words of wisdom to anyone who's listening?
I would say for emerging speakers, I think I've already said it, but I'll say it again. Those 3 things.
Yeah,
I would say get in community, get super visible. Don't worry about, oh my gosh, there's a bunch of other people who speak on the same topic. They are not you. They don't have your secret sauce. So you have to become visible. And then last but not least, between community visibility, I think it's like treat this like a business because
yeah,
people will respond accordingly. Whether you're just starting out, whether you have 2 days, 2 years, or 2 decades of experience as a speaker, you need all 3 of those things to be super successful.
absolutely. Quinn Conyers, thank you so much for your time today. It's been amazing.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.